I typically relegate my angry black woman part into the shadow self. However, she popped out yesterday to tell a gentleman named Ardash that he was very inconsiderate, had the worst customer service. Then I reached into my Karen bag to let him know that I was going to leave the most audacious, outrageous Google review I can think of because, quite simply, he sucked. It felt good. I don't apologize. But what I wanted to talk about today was having self compassion in times of grief. If you're a person who's lost a pet, stick around. So I don't apologize, and I actually don't really feel bad about my exchange with that gentleman because what I said was true. I've yet to create that Google review, but what I said and how I felt, those were legitimate. But, but I typically do not express myself that way in public. So when I was just, relaxing, unwinding yesterday evening, I began to think, well, what was that about? What was that about? That was about anger, which is one of the stages of grief. On the thumbnail, what you will see is our angel, Cookie, who died coming up on a month ago at the tender age of 15, which, as I understand, is a long time for dogs. But if you are a pet owner and you have clicked onto this video, you understand that these animals are more than just a pet, that these animals are, in fact, part of the family. With their loss comes a myriad of emotions, anger being one of them, and the anger does, in fact, need to be expressed. It's debatable how appropriate my expression was, but it simply is what it is at this point. The anger, like all the other emotions, the despair, the denial, the sadness, they do require expression. And if you didn't know, these emotions do live inside of our bodies. And if you look at my channel, the other videos, you will see that there is a series on loss and grief and managing those emotions with the use of EFT. What I wanted to say, however, today was I simply allowed my conscious mind to focus on all of the different aspects of what's been going on. And I began to tap into self compassion. I would say that with this exploration of self compassion and understanding that these are simply emotions that are present because of the tremendous loss. These are simply emotions that are looking for ways to be expressed. With the loss of our animals, the grieving process takes as long as it takes. Simply put, it takes as long as it takes. We can help to move things along by consciously processing that energy out of our bodies, expressing what's happening with us. But in fact, it takes as long as it takes, depending on things like our background, how long we've had the pet, what kind of attachments we have. So it's simply going to be one of those processes that should not be rushed. So, what I wanted to say in this video is hold compassion for yourself in this very delicate time of grieving that loved one. When we are moving through the stages of grief, understand that it is possible to vacillate, to go between two stages. You can be angry, you can be sad, you might bounce back to denial, who knows? But just be aware of the myriad of emotions that can come up, the myriad of thoughts that can come up, and all the while try to have compassion for yourself. So, what ended up happening with me last night after this, what I would say, uncharacteristic outburst, was I just sat with myself in a place of presence, what I would say is extreme presence and self compassion, and allowed whatever emotions, whatever thoughts to simply be there, be the witness to them. And I would say that that had a tremendous effect. When I went back out into the world today, my experiences were quite the opposite of yesterday, actually, in that everyone I encountered had a smile for me. People were going out of their way to offer me their help, to make small talk. It was very lovely just how, on a human level, we were able to just make connections. And I do credit, I'm not going to call it work, I'm going to credit the experience that I had last night. As I mentioned, there is an EFT tapping series, which is available to help us work through the emotions related to different types of grief and loss. That is not what I did. That is not what I did. I was simply present and held self-compassion. But I do invite you, if you're one of these brothers and sisters in loss at this temporary time, to check out those EFT videos. That's what I wanted to share today. I would love to hear about your experiences with this loss, this time of grief and loss, and what you're going through. And again, I invite you to hold compassion for yourself, understand that the emotions are simply the emotions, and given the opportunity and the space, they will pass. They will pass. We're going to get through this. Until next time, bye bye.